Welcome back to another Doing It Russ. It's been a while since our last video together, and we're going to talk about the Rivian. Let's do it. Alright, so as you can see from the title of this video, I did sell my R1T, and I wanted to talk to you guys about why I ended up doing that. Now, this video is not here to convince you to go sell your R1T or get rid of your reservations for your Rivian. I just wanted to share my experience with you and as to the reasons why I ended up going back to my Ram. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's start with talking about a couple of the positives about the Rivian and R1T. First off being that I think technically the first electric truck out on the marketplace was really cool. Not only to just kind of be a part of that, but to also see some of the advancements that Rivian is making and with the possibilities of trucks. You have obviously electric. That's a huge positive in my eyes to power and the cost of that. I've got solar on my house, so it made a tremendous amount of sense to power that with the solar that I've already pulled. So that's a positive. You also have things like the gear tunnel, which I think is really cool, the powered tonneau cover, which is also a really difficult thing for them to come up with, along with some other really cool features within the truck itself. Like the underbed storage where your spare tire is. Now, I didn't have a spare tire, so I just used that as overall storage. But there were some really cool features, along with, obviously, the torque that you get from the truck. So not only did you feel like you were driving a truck, but you also felt like if you wanted to get a little sporty, you could. There's certainly a lot of other additional positives here, but let's get right to the reasons why I decided to sell it. All right, so let me just say every interaction that I've ever had with anybody at Rivian has always been fantastic. So kudos to them for their customer service. But the number one issue that I had was unresolved issues with the truck. Every time I would call in to notify them of something going wrong, or maybe suspicion going wrong with the truck, everybody was fantastic. But the typical answer you would get is, hey, we're going to notate that. We'll get back to you in 48 hours with a service plan. And at the end of the day, you just never get a call. And I think that especially as early adopters, if you're going to be driving a vehicle, you understand you're going to have some issues. Communication and customer service is really important, that you commit to the things that you say you're going to do. So I didn't feel like I was getting that. Once I got service, I felt like I was, but I would report an issue and would never hear back, so I'd have to call again. And that was a big concern for me. Some of the other things, obviously if you've watched my videos, you'll know I've had the overhead light issue coming on just randomly with no idea as to why. Tonneau cover, some of you have already had issues with this and have replacements, and from what I understand, a redesign is coming early 2023. So if you still have one and you're having some issues, mine, you could definitely tell the motor was kind of dying out on it, and that was a concern for me. I was also having an issue in the accelerator, so just keep an eye out for this. Didn't happen when I first got it, is when I would press down on the accelerator, feather it in traffic, you'd hear this like click, and you'd literally feel it. Like it was engaging and disengaging into a gear, and that was concerning for me. And then here, even recently, it's getting cold out. As you can see, we got snow on the ground. I'd have to keep my thermostat to about 78 degrees in the truck just to keep it relatively warm. And that was a concern for me too, is you just shouldn't have to do those types of things to keep your vehicle warm. So, with these compounding issues, I just felt like, boy, they're close. They're really, really close to really putting something pretty special together. And for many of you, you may not have these issues. I may have just had the one, that had just compounding issues that went unresolved. And again, this is a very personal opinion on the vehicle and how much I was willing to withstand throughout this process, and I just hit my pivot point. Now, I will say one other thing, and I'll post a side-by-side here, but the size of the vehicle, I think subconsciously always was a little bit of an issue for us. Now, before the Rivian, we did have a Ram 1500 prior, and we loved it, especially as a family vehicle. It was big enough that we could get in. My wife could jump into the back seat and have plenty of room. Now, we just couldn't do that in the R1T. It is more like a mid-size pickup, and one of two things would happen. My daughter would have her feet in your back, or your knees would be in the dash. And just unfortunately, just the size too what played kind of a big role in ultimately going back to a Ram 1500. Now, in a future video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the technology that's in the Ram 1500 that I think correlates to some of the technology you get in the R1T and how they're very similar, and how I actually was able to get all of that, get the bigger truck. Yes, now am I putting money into gas? For sure. But at the end of the day, I'm getting everything I want actually at a lesser price point than the R1T. Now, many of you may be asking, how did I do when I traded in my R1T for my Ram, which is what I did? I actually made some money. Now, as you guys know, just depending on when you're watching this video, the used car market has really blown up, and I think it's at its peak and is starting its downward trend. Now, I happen to get some of the positive equity on that, so I did make about $6,000 from my purchase price to the point of trade-in. So you think about that, I drove the truck just about 10,000 miles in 1 year, just about 1 year, and I was able to make $6,000, drive the truck for a year for free, and really test it out. So not a bad deal on my end. You know, for those that have R1Ts, I wish you guys well. Come check out my next video. I'm going to be talking about the Ram 1500 and the technology that's in this thing. It is packed full of it. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you guys on the next one.